Hi, I'm Lauren Kirkland, and I'm doing a video on cereal dilution for my microbiology class. And before we get started, I'm going to review the proper lab attire that I have on today. I have my hair pulled back, I have my glasses on that are serving as my goggles or safety shields. I have on my lab coat, as well as long pants that extend down to my closed-toed shoes. None of my attire has holes, rips, or tears. And moving forward, I will then introduce what will be needed for the lab now that we're ready to go. So first I have the Bunsen burner that we'll be using. I also have my glass test tube full of my culture today here in this cup. I have my 3 plates of agar. I have 4 conical tubes that will be used for dilating our culture. I have my spreader. I have a pipette, I have a marker, and I have a glove as well. So now that I've gone over the items list, I'm going to put on my glove. I only have one here. Pretend like I'm putting on 2. I'm going to rearrange some of this so we can get started with the first part of the demonstration. So as you can see here, again, I have my 4 conical tubes, and I have them placed in just a little homemade shoebox that I made to help hold them. And before we get started, we need to make sure, I'm going to measure out my pipette here. I'm going to measure out 1 milliliter of water. And I have already, for this purpose, off camera, placed 3 milliliters of water here in this conical tube. So I'm going to stick it in, I'm going to measure out 1 milliliter of water. This may take a few attempts. You want to make sure you get no bubbles in the pipette, as well as water, no water in the bulb. So I'm going to cap that. As you can see, I pulled out 1 milliliter of water. There's no water in the bulb, there's no air in my pipette. So I'm doing this to indicate where my pipette represents a 1 milliliter of water. I'm just going to indicate that, my marker. I'm going to just insert this back in now that I've measured it. Recap it. Now before I get the Bunsen burner out, as well as the culture, I'm going to explain these a little bit more. So here we have the culture that we're going to be diluting among these 4 conical tubes. And as you can see, each conical tube is labeled and they descend in a logarithmic order. And throughout the experiment, you will put a diluted sample in each one. So for example, at the beginning, I will be diluting test tube 1. I will mix that well, and then test tube 1, culture dilution will go into test tube 2, and then test tube 2 to 3, and then so forth. So off camera and ahead of time, just to save some time in this demonstration, I have labeled these accordingly. So now that our pipette is ready, and I've explained the importance of our conical tubes, have the Bunsen burner here because we will be using that. And just for a moment here, before we start mixing the culture, it's important that each of these conical tubes have 9 milliliters of water. So this video is going to just pause for just a little bit while I fill these up with 9 milliliters of water. Okay, so again, there was just a little pause in the video after explaining our conical tubes and measuring our pipette out to make sure that each one of these conical tubes are full of 9 milliliters of water. So the next thing I'm going to make sure to do is I'm going to turn the Bunsen burner on, I'll ignite it, and to indicate that it is hot enough for the purpose of sterilization of what we'll be using, I would look for that internal blue flame. So it is hot enough. So now I'm going to get our culture as shown earlier. I have my pipette that I indicated 1 milliliter. I'm going to remove 1 milliliter of my culture with this test tube. Remove it with my pinky. Flame it. I'm going to get 1 milliliter of my culture. I'm going to insert it carefully vertically. This may take a few attempts. Once I've got it at my 1 milliliter indication, I'm going to remove it vertically again, carefully. I'm going to flame it. I'm going to cap it. Then I'm going to get my conical tube 1 here. I'm going to remove my cap. Flame it. I'm going to insert the 1 milliliter of culture to the 9 milliliters of solution here. So it should make 10 milliliters total. I'm going to flame it. Cap it. Then I'm going to make sure this is mixed up very well. As you can see, now here we have 10 milliliters of a blue liquid. So now I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to take tube 1, flame it, remove 1 milliliter, flame it, cap it. Now I'm going to be transferring this to test tube 2. Remove the cap, flame it, insert diluted solution, flame it, cap it, shake this up as well. So again, I have 10 milliliters, a little lighter blue than the first one. I'm going to repeat the same process from 2 to 3. Remove my lid, flame it, remove 1 milliliter pipette, ensuring there's no liquid in the bowl or bubbles. Remove 1 milliliter, flame it, cap it, grab my conical tube 3, remove the cap, flame it, insert the 1 milliliter, flame it, cap it, and to repeat, shake. Again, we have 10 milliliters in the conical tube 3 that is noticeably lighter. Then I will repeat the process one last time from 3 to 4. Remove my cap, flame it, remove 1 milliliter, flame it, conical tube 4, flame it, insert the diluted 1 milliliter solution, flame it, cap it, and shake. So as you can see here, in our conical tubes, we have samples, diluted samples of each culture from 1 to 4, and you can noticeably see the difference of change from darker to lighter. Each conical tube has 10 milliliters of diluted solution added, as we added the 1 milliliter of a sample from each, descending down. So now I'm going to move this to the side. So now that we've successfully completed our conical tube cereal dilution, we're going to put this solution into our agar plates. So here I'm going to start my agar plate A. As you can see that it's labeled. So the purpose of this transfer is, once I have successfully transferred this diluted solution onto my field, after it sits overnight in an incubator, I will be able to see the colonies of growth. And to see the different growth rates on the different 3 plates, we're going to be using the different samples 2 through 4. So first, I still will be using my Bunsen burner. Conical tube 2 will go on plate A. I'm going to remove my cap, flame it, remove 1 milliliter, flame it, cap it. I'm going to remove my plate A lid, and I'm going to insert this into my field. Then I'm going to use my spreader and evenly spread this along my field of agar. Making sure it's even. Put my lid on. successfully completed that plate. I'll move this plate to the side. Next we have plate B here. We'll use conical 3 tube, plate B. Here again I have my pipette. I'll remove the cap. I'll flame it. Remove 1 milliliter. Flame it. Recap it. Remove my lid. Insert. My spreader instrument to evenly distribute. Successfully completed plate B. Now we have plate C that is labeled appropriately. We will use conical tube 4. Remove the lid. Flame it. Remove 1 milliliter diluted solution. Diluted culture. Making sure there's no bubbles in our pipette or water in the bowl. Again, this may take a few attempts. We'll flame it. Recap it. Insert my 1 milliliter into plate C. Spreading instrument to distribute it evenly. And we've completed that successfully. So in a recap, for our cereal dilution, we now have successfully completed our conical tube, diluting that among the 4 conical tubes using our original culture, as well as transferring 2 through 4 into these plates to get different growth rates colonies. We will then place these in the incubator overnight, and then they would be ready to look at and examine to see the type of growth that we have. And we usually want to shoot for from 20 to around 300. So again, the purpose of this is to see how many colonies have formed, colonies of growth have formed. So once we've completed that successfully, we would turn our Bunsen burner off. We would store our items, and then we would disinfect our bench and work area. So again, thank you for watching the cereal dilution demonstration for Microbiology 214.